Welcome, beautiful people, beautiful families, and thank you to Mark Bentley for joining us on this call this evening, or for you, all of you that are watching the replay. Mark Bentley is the Gene Keys guru, human design, frequency man that does so much magic, and I'm so honoured to have this chat with him tonight around frequency for families. Hey Mark, thanks for joining us.
Hey, so thanks for having us, Holly.
Thank you. The intention for this informative call tonight is to just tap into the responsibility that we have as parents, as families, this family unit, which I feel like, in a way, the way that society is set up is a little bit detrimental to the family unit and detrimental to this connection, having deep connection with our children and having this healthy energy flow between us. We've gone through quite a few generations of disconnect and disempowerment in the family unit and the parent-child relationship. So I'm really interested in this new mother, and I've got a 6.5-year-old, and Mark, your son's probably quite old now, I'm guessing. He's probably, I think he was 9 last time we connected, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Is he in his teens now, Mark?
14. You got it.
Oh, there we go. Wow. Yeah, that's a big age. That's cool. I know you and your son have got a really beautiful relationship, so it feels really nice to be having this chat around having the intention between the connection between parent and child and the family unit, and then speaking about frequencies and quantum medicine and this beautiful device, Healy, that we have as a tool to support the family home. So Mark, take it away with the next slide. I've created a few slides to keep us on track and have a conversation with Mark here. So I just wanted to slot in the connection with the subconscious mind and epigenetics. So epigenetics is this new awareness that we have that our environment has the ability to turn on and off our genes, especially while we're in utero. Obviously, that's a big focus of my work. You can look into Bruce Lipton to look into his work and see how this has an effect on our being and the next generation. So it has been proven that the subconscious mind is billions of times stronger than the conscious mind, functioning about 95% of the time. So our subconscious mind is really running the show. And so it's predominantly formed while we're in utero and up till the age of 7. So sharing that to just share just a remembrance of the importance that we have as parents in that those early times, how it is really forming the next generation. And we're wanting to have as much awareness and as many tools as possible to support us through those phases. And next slide, please, Mark. Albert Einstein, who is the great revolutionary in quantum physics, his work was around proving that every substance has vibration, and the electromagnetic field produced by a cell reflects its vibrational frequency. One of his most famous quotes is, or maybe not one of, but one of his famous quotes is, "The medicine of the future will be frequency medicine. And everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. There's no other way." There was another quote that should have been in here, actually, Mark, you might remember that. I'm pretty sure it's the Albert Einstein one that says, or is it maybe Nikola Tesla that says the medicine will evolve more than it has in the previous decade when it starts to incorporate frequency. I don't know if that's Albert or Nikola Tesla that has that quote.
I'm not sure, Holly, but I know the Nikola Tesla one that also goes with this is, if he apparently said once that if you want to know the secrets of the universe, then think in terms of frequency, energy, and vibration, which I think plays a real hand in all this.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, well, it must be another Albert Einstein quote, and he says that, the medicine of the future is frequency. And next slide, please. So, speaking about tools that we can have as parents to raise our consciousness, have more self awareness, more presence, more balanced energy. And the beautiful tool we have is Gene Keys and I Ching, which Mark specializes in. And so, this is a little question to slot in here for you, Mark, is what are the Gene Keys and in what ways can Gene Keys support us as parents? It's a bit of an open-ended big question, but whatever you feel like sharing around that, I just feel like it has been such a powerful tool for my own personal development and something that other parents that are watching this or part of the call can take on to dive into.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate the question, Holly. And it's one of the reasons I committed myself to become an ambassador for the Gene Keys work. Working with Richard Rudd and the Gene Keys team is, I came to find this work, some will see it as a profiling system. You can put in your date of birth and time on the Gene Keys website, get a free profile, and it gives you a set of keys. So it's more than just profiling. It's a system that allows us to, in a way, recalibrate our inner perspective of how we view reality and how we view ourselves. So it's a way of really peeling away who we think we are, who we've been brought up as. As you mentioned, we go through these younger years in turbulent times. A lot of us grew up in the 80s and the 90s or before, and it was a different world back then. And then the ones growing up now, it's pretty hard to go through those first 21 years without, gathering some form of conditioning that becomes quite repressive in a sense. And a lot of this is what we call shadows in Gene Keys, are our protection mechanisms. They're there to actually protect us when there's danger around us. And so the Gene Keys, in a way, are contemplative keys that when we bring them into our life and we contemplate them in our everyday life, our relationships, our work, our relationship with our children, etc., it really helps us shift our energy out of the frequency of being a victim to being an empowered creator, where we actually have empowered choice through response. And I think this speaks to what you were sharing before about epigenetics. This is kind of at the heart of Gene Keys. Why they work is because of epigenetics. When we say that the environment affects how our DNA, responds and what turns on and off, a lot of that comes down to how we perceive our environment. So if we perceive danger or a threat, then our brain sends a signal to our DNA to say danger. The DNA tightens up, and in tightening up goes into self-defense, and then it starts triggering off what we call shadow patterns. And if in the old days, when there were dinosaurs and all the rest, the dinosaur would come, it would trigger the fear justifiably, and then we would run to the cave. And then in the cave, the body would recognize the safe environment, and then the DNA would relax, and we would go back into our gift frequency, and we would begin healing whatever was affected. But in our modern day, and anyone who's doing parenting right now can probably really appreciate how much fear is being triggered all around us on all sides of the spectrum. We can get, we don't want to get caught on this side or that. Fear is fear. And when we are perpetuating fear 24/7 through our social media, it can even come from worrying about someone not liking a post that we made, right? It can trigger that fear of a dinosaur. And so when we are allowing these frequencies this fear to be constantly pounded at us, and we continually accept it and then see our world through that lens of projected fear, then we lose our core stability. Our frequency begins to shift into this place that creates a very anxious, nervous energy around, and that transfers to our children. It transfers into our family. And this isn't to put any blame on anyone. We're all in the game. It's all part of the challenge. And so this is why I'm such a big fan of the Gene Keys, of Healy, and any tools that we can use that can help us come back to our natural frequency, to come back to a place where we can breathe properly, breathe deeply, to help the nervous system calm, so that even if there is danger, we can be responding to the danger rather than reacting to it. And by holding that frequency, we create a kind of core stability for our family unit, which makes it easier for those that maybe are having a harder time to be able to find their core stability. And in the end, I feel like this is how not only do we make change in our own family and support our own family, but it's the only way that we are going to change the planet, is if we can re-establish this, core stability within ourselves and our family unit. So that's kind of the gene keys, and the I Ching is where the gene keys were born from. So the I Ching is a Chinese oracular system that was around for over 5,000 years, and very mystical system that the emperors used to use back in the old days to navigate their way through really transformative times to make decisions. And so this is one of my favorite things, and why you see me, putting so much love into Healy as well as the gene keys, is that the two are deeply interrelated. And those that have the Healy resonance database, which we can talk about later, the I Ching database is there. So if you know the gene keys, check out the I Ching database on the Healy. If you know the I Ching database on the Healy, then start looking up those numbers that turn up on the gene keys, and it'll really open up the world for you.
Yeah, there's so much to explore. I've played around with the I Ching scan in the resonance, and only just got into the creative homeopathy psyche, and there is some deep truth bombs that come up through this, that this device can actually scan our information field and our subconscious mind and bring forth an awareness of what's lurking around in that moment that you've done the scan. It's just, yeah. And that's why I guess we've mentioned epigenetics and quantum physics to try and get our head around what that is. It can be quite hard for some people. A lot of people feel it, but our physical 3D reality mind sometimes can't move through it. But we do have some slides later on that will explain the information field and how the Healy is able to get these readings. But really cool that you can do the I Ching scan, and it brings up what I Ching/gene keys is coming up that needs to be worked through. And I love that it's embracing the shadow, becoming aware of the shadow, and then coming into this gift that we all have in every part of our own gene keys, I Ching, genetics, DNA. Yeah. Thank you, Mark. So if anyone wants to dive in more into the gene keys, connect with Mark. And our beautiful Shay also is into the gene keys. She's an ambassador and does readings as well. So slot that in there.
And highly recommend Shay. She's incredible.
Yeah, she is. She is. So what can we do as parents to raise our frequency for our children, the next generation? So we've kind of touched on that a little bit, our own self-work, being in that more aligned state as much as we can be. And like we said, no one's perfect. We're perfectly imperfect in wherever we are. But I really felt this for my last pregnancy, and not meant to promote using the Healy device while you're pregnant, but I personally chose that it was right for me, and I used the coil, working on my energetics. Anytime I felt a little dip in my energy, I would utilize it with intention to raise my energy, with the intention of understanding that every emotion, every thought that I was experiencing was forming this child within me and forming its consciousness, and conditioning. Conditioning is the word that I was looking for. So that for me, the Healy was a really powerful tool for that. And of course, we've got meditation, and we can be out in nature, and we can be doing all these amazing things that help keep our frequency high and help us be in most alignment. But as a modern human and a mother and a father and business owners, it's quite difficult to have the time to be in nature and meditating and doing yoga and all those things every day. So that's where the Healy slips in as something that we can wear while we're driving, while we're cooking, while we're walking, while we're working. There's the Mag Healy, which is a new device that you can have running in the room, which is affecting the frequency, the bioenergetics of the room. So I don't have one of those yet, but it's on my very, very much want one of those list. It's coming. So yeah, there are ways that we can raise our frequency. Breath work, of course, is a beautiful way to bring our mindfulness and to affect our frequency. But the gene keys, like you mentioned, Mark, again, that's one way to work on the subconscious, the shadow aspects that might be lurking, to bring that us back into alignment and focus on the gifts.
Absolutely. And Holly, just want to throw in as well, there's this concept of, holographic healing, the idea that, our traumas are passed down through our lineage. And just as a bird passes down how to fly through its genetic memory to the baby bird, there are no lessons, it just knows how to fly. But so are some of our traumas passed down through our genetic lineage. And we often don't want to pass these on to our children. We feel like we want to stop them, but paradoxically, by trying to prevent them, we can often create the inverse trauma of that. And something that I really feel quite powerful about, with my own son and the process is, it's a tricky balance of making space for the child to allow them to have their experience however it is. And rather than trying to fix the trauma by fixing the child, it's more by getting, again, that core stability in myself. That what I've come to see as a true thing is, as I heal my own trauma, as I go inwardly and heal my own wounds that are from my lineage, then not only do I see my son beginning to benefit from that, because when we heal in our own, then holographically that passes on. Not everyone has to do it individually. We are a unit, a family unit, whether we like it or not, depending on our relationships. And the only one that really needs to do the work is me. And this is where the tools like Healy, because when we go into doing this work, it can be triggering, it can be challenging, it can be overwhelming, it can bring up all kinds of health issues and things to reflect for us this process. And things like the Healy and the Gene Keys provide a framework, provide support for our nervous system, for the vehicle itself, so that we can be in a better place to, again, have core stability, so that we can see what is going on more in the face rather than shying away and being scared of it. And then paradoxically, that allows us to raise the frequency for our children. And not only that, but it allows us to create supportive frequencies for our parents and for our grandparents and their lineage going backwards in time. Because it's that part where we can very easy, take response. Oh, it's my fault my children are like this. It's like, okay, well, if it's your fault your children are like this, then it must be your parents' fault that you are like that. But if that's the case, then it must be your parents' fault that your parents are. And we're going to keep going all the way down the line until we get to the very beginning, which is it the Big Bang? Is it whatever it is? So in the end, pinning the blame on ourselves or our parents can help just temporarily, like a little crutch to help us process the pain. But in the end, if we really want to change the way our children are going to exist in this next generation, then the only place to do it is here and now, in our own being. And that is where I feel these tools we share, are so powerful in that role.
Thank you, Mark. I also have heard a quote before saying that the healing we do for ourselves in this here and now is affecting, of course, all the generations to come, but all the generations that have been before, because that's the quantum, right? Everything that was, is, and could be is here and now. Really cool. Really cool. So yeah, let's speak about Healy. So our bodies are composed of several layers of tissues, organs, cells, atoms, subatomic particles, and then there's energy and vibration. And I'm no scientist. I can't get my head around atoms and molecules and cells. I think I just tapped out in science lessons, but I feel energy and it just makes sense to me. And frequency healing has always made sense to me, but I couldn't have a scientific conversation with anyone around it.
I love that, Holly. And the best part is that when it comes to Healy and all this kind of work, we don't need to. It really comes down to, and this is why we share it like we do, that you don't just share on Facebook advertising, because in the end, with something like Healy, it comes down to, what's your experience? Has it helped? Like with the Gene Keys work, that I can't give you any scientific evidence, but what I can give you is a lifetime, or at least the last 10 years, of how it has helped me change things. And we have stories from so many people around the world of how the world has been transformed through healing. But the one thing I will say for the science aspect of it, when you look at this, the layering of how the body is created, this is physics that we're looking at. That when we say everything is energy, that is not a fluffy new age statement. Everything is energy at the fundamental level. And when we look out at that, that's what quantum physics is starting to break open. And one of the fascinating things is anyone that looks into quantum physics, you start realizing is quantum physics is quite the rebel in the physics world. It's causing a lot of problems because it's starting to break up all of the theories that we ever had. Because when you break down to the vibration level, nothing makes sense anymore. And so in the world of quantum computers and quantum information, we're children, every one of us. And anyone who says they think they know for sure what's going on, they don't. And so this is what's really exciting, is that we get to work on this layer, something that spirituality has been exploring for eons. Science is finally beginning to explore with everything is energy. And as you say, behind that is the information field, which is essentially the coding behind it all.
And I have a couple of examples to share with the Healy around that. I've done a few scans, quite a few scans, where things like I'll do a resonance scan and it'll come up tooth pain for someone. One case as an example that I'm thinking of, and he's like, oh, that's really strange. My teeth are completely fine. I don't have any tooth pain. Okay, a week later, oh my goodness, Holia, I have an infected tooth. How did that machine know that I was going to get an infected tooth a week later? Colds can come up with cold, or I think it's called something else now, shiver. Oh, I'm not sick. I don't have a cold. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm fine. A few days later, bring up, oh my gosh, I've got a massive cold. How did that machine know? So that's the information field. Everything starts as energy. It's out in the information field, in our frequency, in our energy, before it physically manifests. So we're this dense reality that it comes into our field first, into our information field, and that's what the Healy's picking up. It's scanning the information field so they can pick up things that aren't physically manifest yet, which is just amazing, mind-blowing.
Absolutely. And this is the beauty of working with Healy now is, we used to have medical intuitives, we do have them around the place, and that's really what they're doing. Whether you're a kinesiologist or you're working in Reiki, whatever your energy modality is, you're working with the information field. You just may not know it. And that's where now we can actually use the Healy as a personal kind of, kinesiologist, or, that we can have in our pocket that can help us tune into what's going on in our field, because often it will, like you say, be already working its way into our physical manifestation. Maybe it's an emotional issue that's underlying. That's that creative homeopathics you talk about. It's quite amazing when you scan and it picks up on, okay, so what's the fundamental base level of this disease? Because this dis-ease is coming from somewhere in our field, and it helps locate that. And then by vibrating the frequencies in, it's a bit like homeopathics for the soul in some ways, homeopathics for the information field. It's able to see that was coming. So for example, if like your example with the teeth, some kind of teeth pain, if they had to put the pads on and ran some frequencies for that, it may have actually supported it from not needing to fully manifest as much as it did. And so that's the other part, Halia, that I find is so beautiful with Healy is, yes, it supports in all these magical ways. But at the same time, it really encourages the cultivation of self-awareness around our own body and our relationship with it. Because, some people say, oh, but, the Healy, it's like we just become dependent on it. So you won't become dependent because you actually still need to pick it up and use it. And if you're doing so, you are creating an intention to support yourself. So already you're helping yourself from that place. It's a very positive intention. And then you need to think about, okay, what should I run? So now you're actually contemplating, what do I need? What would be best for my benefit? So it's actually a very positive interaction with the Healy, even if it did nothing. Just simply that act of caring for yourself and having awareness of, how do I feel right? Oh, I feel a bit run down. Okay, maybe I'll run fatigue. You know, it really supports that cultivation of self-awareness as well.
It really does. My scan today said sleep came up as the #1 program, and I've been going to bed really late the last couple of nights with all this creative energy I've got at the moment. And so, yeah, the Healy's saying I need to go to bed early, and I will run the sleep program before I go to bed early tonight, and I will have a good sleep. So, Mark, I might let you take it away here with all this Healy wisdom. I really love that this part of it, that the Healy can increase the ATP production by up to 500%. And that's the energy that goes around the cell, right? That gives us energy, somehow linked to the mitochondria. But I love that. If you want to take it away with more information.
Absolutely. Like you can see in the text here, the adenosine triphosphate, ATP, it stores energy in the cells similar to gasoline in a car's gas tank. And I'm sure most of you have experienced what it's like when your car runs out of gas at some point, usually in our first years of getting our license. It's not a fun experience. It ends up getting real hot as you're slugging along, trying to push this car, feeling a bit crappy, about everything that's happened. And that's kind of what happens when our cells lose energy, when they're not producing the full energy they should. And essentially what we're looking at is the voltage potential of the cells gets knocked down when we are not operating correctly. We have a lot of frequencies all around us that are constantly interfering with our cellular health. And it's one of those things that it can be challenging to scientifically prove what it is, because it's happening in a kind of way that's not being acknowledged, by the certain bodies that would be responsible for researching it. And so what we find is that whether it's external frequencies, like the ones that are all around us in the house and power lines and things like this, or whether it's stress, which is a frequency of its own, thoughts create frequency that then affect our body's frequency. If it's like you say, Julia, getting carried away and not getting enough rest, not hydrating enough, all of these things affects the way our cells are working and the cell voltage potential. And that in turn causes a lot of grief in our healing, in the way we naturally heal. So you could say that Healy doesn't heal. It supports the body's natural process to heal through things like, for example, increasing the ATP production by up to 500%. So that's like 5xing the amount of fuel that's in your car. That gives it a lot more distance and a lot more that it can cover. And obviously for the body to heal and to build new cells, to build new things, it needs energy. Then you have the increased protein synthesis. So that's the ability to actually take proteins and synthesize them and create them and get them out there into the body. And that's what helps build new cells. So it increases that by up to 70%. And it increased the amino acid transport by up to 40%. So amino acids, as it says, are the building blocks for protein synthesis. So without those, there is no protein synthesis, there is no new cells. And so you can see how all of this comes together to really support the body's ability to heal itself. And it's important to mention here, as you can see at the bottom, this is from a study that was done in 1982. So what we are looking at here is not new information. Microcurrents have been around for a long time, but they were outlawed back in, I think it was the early 20s, and then they eventually were able to make a comeback. But it's interesting that we have this kind of evidence, and yet it is completely overlooked by medical specialists all around the place. And what we're looking at here is microcurrents in general. Now with Healy, you're actually taking a very unique wearable that personalizes the frequency of the microcurrents. And so the microcurrents themselves are the electricity that's being applied to your body. And that gives you all of these benefits. But then Healy then changes the frequency itself. It's almost like the musical note, in a way you could imagine it as, of what that current is interacting with. And when you dial in the frequency, it begins to work in specific areas. And you'll have experienced this, Holly, with when you're running a program and sometimes you can watch the frequencies changing because the Healy's listening to your body with a resonance sensor and then adapting, giving you a personalized frequency delivery every session. And you'll see the numbers changing. And as the numbers change, sometimes you can actually feel the sensations change. Like I remember when I first used Healy, I would feel pulses. I put it up way higher than it needs to be. Frequency, less is more. But I was a storm and a frequency junkie, so I'd always crank it up. And you could feel it would be pulsing in certain spots. And then it would shift. And then I'd feel it in a different part of my body. And so that was such a beautiful evidence for me of how frequency changes how microcurrents behave and what they affect within your body. So if what we're looking at here on this slide is microcurrents in general, I would love to see what happens when we really start specifically studying these different frequencies and what they do. Now, the Healy's working on two different layers that we can talk about. You've got frequencies for the bioenergetic field, and then you've got microcurrent with frequencies at the cell level. And that is essentially what we're speaking about here. We've just talked about the microcurrents and how they work with the cells. That's what we just covered in that slide. That's where you'll have the leads where you can hook up, and I swear by it. There you go. And you can use it to support things like scar tissue, breaking it down, inflammation, all these kinds of things. We've got frequencies for everything. Then you have the Healy also working on what's known as the bioenergetic field, which is the flow of life energy connecting body, mind, and soul, traditionally known as chi and prana. So you can see here that what we're dealing with is a device that is working with the things that we as energy practitioners work with every day. So in a scientific term, they would say an information flow on the quantum level. So science is now starting to explore and understand that chi or prana, life force energy, is a real thing. And they're starting to get their scientific terms, but they had to study it from the quantum level. So that's where the Healy is using the resonance sensor to work with the bioenergetic field and the actual frequencies and the microcurrents to hit the body. So you're getting frequencies that are supporting both sides in that sense, which is a really powerful way of moving things forwards. Now, this is where the spooky stuff starts, right? You've already talked about, Holly, with the resonance sensor and using the resonance module, how we can use the Healy to scan using this, what's called a quantum noise generator. It's a resonance device that basically creates a random noise, quantum noise. And when we say noise, it's just like very random frequency that's all over the place. And then what it does is it scans that and it looks for patterns, because patterns should not exist in random noise. And so that is how the Healy is able to use a sensor to detect what's going on in your body, because your body, because of the magnetic field and interaction of the information field, creates patterns in the randomness. And that's how it can read what's going on in your field. And so as you see here, through that is how we then lead ourselves back to getting coherence, self-organization. And coherence is all about, you often people like the Heart Math Institute, etc., talk about heart-mind coherence. And it's about bringing things into harmony. Like with a guitar, if one string is out of tune, it throws the entire chord off when you're trying to play a song. It sounds terrible. But if you tune that string back up, all of a sudden you have harmony. The strings actually build up the sound. Whereas when you go out of tune, it breaks it and causes, decoherence, discord. So the idea is the Healy is working with the information field and the microcurrents, or whatever method we're using, to tune our strings of our inner guitar, in a sense. And that allows us to become coherent. It means everything is flowing and working. Our heart, mind, our cells, they're all kind of, in a family, when the family, if one person's a bit pissed off that day, it throws it off a little bit. But if we can hold it and get that core stability and bring our partner or whoever it is into coherence, suddenly the children begin falling into coherence. But if one of us go out, the kids fall out too. This is really what self-organization is all about. We bring ourselves into coherence so that ourselves can self-organize, and that means they will begin to self-repair. And that's where it creates this loop, informing the quantum field and then the resonance sensor to let it know what's going on. So the Healy is constantly listening to your body and then adapting to respond through that cycle. Did you just want me to keep going, Holly? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, keep going. I was just going to slot in there. The coherence program is just such a beautiful program. I'm so glad they added that in as a little bonus a couple of years ago. And you've got it on your Mag Healy running through the call, which is really nice to have that, bringing us into coherence. It feels like a really simple but powerful program to be running regularly. I try and do that one every day.
And I think it's one of the most powerful. And this is often people, the Healy has a lot of amazing packages of different frequencies you can get. But I love that Healy did give the essentials when they gave even the base model. It's the gold frequencies are fantastic, and the coherence is, if there was only one program that we could have for the rest of our lives, that would be the one. And it's what I use on the Mag Healy, which is now creating a little magnetic field all around to help bring that coherence into the space. I use that with all of my Gene Key sessions. Whenever I'm doing this, that's the program that I put on. Beautiful. So as we said, it's individualized microcurrent frequencies. That's what makes Healy different to other microcurrent devices, because microcurrents, as I said, are not new. What is new is having it in a wearable device that you can very easily use from your mobile device to pick what program you want to run. But most importantly, is that it's individualized microcurrent frequencies, meaning that, for example, if we were to choose the same program, Holly, say we picked relax, right? We've had a big day, we want to relax. If I run relax and you run relax, and we then watch the frequencies that it delivered, we would probably notice different frequencies, because what has caused me to stress out in my day is probably going to be different with my work and a 14-year-old and the different lifestyle that I have to what you have been going through on your side. There's probably different kinds of stresses and things and different parts that have been knocked out. Plus, I have a male biological body and you have a female. So that means we have organs that have different frequencies, right? That might be related. So the Healy is going to be listening and personalizing, individualizing the program delivery to each of us. So even though we are both running a program that the outcome is for us to relax, and at the end of the program, hopefully we are both relaxed, the actual frequencies to get us there will be unique and individualized. And that is what really makes Healy super unique in that sense.
So cool. I always forget about that uniqueness that they have, that the frequencies adjusting moment by moment. That's so cool.
I find myself sometimes, Holly, just watching it and going, I wonder what that frequency is, and then trying to find out, wonder what that one is. What's that one? What's this one? And,
oh my gosh, that's such a good idea to do that.
Sometimes it's best just to relax and receive them.
Yeah, totally. That's your inquiry-ness, trying to understand things at a deeper level. I like that.
That's the crazy science mind. And so this is just a great little survey. I mean, it's an essential survey. We're going to see more and more research and data coming out. And Healy have been doing more and more. There's a laboratory in Germany where they do all this work. But essentially, we see that 70% of Healy users surveyed feel the benefits after only 6 times using the product. And so really what I've come to see is I don't personally know anyone who has not had any benefits from the Healy that has used the Healy for longer than a week. It's some people, like I had instant results very first time I used it, I felt it. Others, it might be a few weeks, until they start noticing changes. Some, and it also comes down to, I don't know if you've had this experience, Holly, but I've run a program before, like, I think maybe I had no, that's right. There was one where I had neck pain and I was working and I had to sit at a table for a long period of time. And I remember I put the Mag Healy on the back and I was running it for neck pain. And normally when I do that job, after a few hours, I start getting a very sharp pain in my back, around my neck. This time, I forgot that I'd even run the program. and that I even had a pain. And this is what we actually notice. Sometimes people will be like, oh, I'm not sure, but they forget that they ever had a pain in the first place after they've treated it. So what I always recommend is when you first get your Healy, start a journal and write down what you're running, how you feel now, and keep track. If you're working on your skin, take photos so that you've got something to look at. Because often we're like, oh, I think it did something. I'm not sure. It's like, well, what was it like? Oh, hang on a second. Actually, that was pretty painful. Is it painful now? No. So it's that thing of, it really is an amazing thing, but you still have to put it on. And of course, 94% said they would recommend a Healy to others. And Holly, I put my reputation on the line every time I put myself out sharing Healy. And I do it because it has, for the last 4 years, supported me and my family. So I definitely recommend it.
That's why I'm stepping back into this space as well. Life's been busy and I've been focusing on plant medicine or all kinds of other things, and then come back to, hey, I've had this device for almost 4 years now, and it's always there when I need it. It always supports me when I need it. And analyzing and contemplating the last 4 years, the times that I've used it consistently, is when I've felt the best, when I felt most aligned, had the best energy, shared the best work. And then I might go off it for a little while, but then come back to it. And it just feels like this security blanket, knowing that I have it in my home to support my family when things come up. Illnesses, physical, mental, emotional, anything that comes up, it's there as a tool. And that's why I'm feeling really passionate to share it, because we're going through a time where we're needing to be more self-empowered as much as possible and have tools to support our families, so we don't have to reach out to the more corrupt systems and corporations to support us, because they don't have our best interests at heart generally. So yeah, here I am 4 years in, almost in April, it'll be 4 years since we got our Healy. And I couldn't imagine not having it in our home. So that's where my passion comes from. And yeah, it's time to share it.
I'll hold to that. Yeah. It's a beautiful, the world, we're going through so much transformation, and there is so much possibility ahead right now. And that's why and the same, getting more vocal, getting this out more, sharing as much as I can now, because between the Gene Keys and Healy, to me, are my two favorite tools that I find easy, in a sense, to put into practice in our everyday life for people that are going through turbulent times, which is all of us. And we can't change the world from a reactive, angry place. It's hard not to, with everything that's going on out there, to get really angry at the world and bitter and to want to fight, to want to, get into that place. But we do need change to happen, but it needs to come from the sacred activist place. It has to come from a sacred center where we can do powerful action, but first we need to be grounded. And that's where I'm getting it, as many people as I can get onto this, bringing their frequency and nervous system into line. We become very powerful. So here, it's a personable wearable device that analyzes over 9 million frequencies and selects the ones you need to harmonize your bioenergetic field. So as you can see there, physical, mental, emotional, meridians, chakras, learning, beauty, fitness, wealth, connection, relationships, productivity. Essentially, when we say everything is frequency, literally everything is frequency. Frequency is literally the coding instructions of life itself that lets energy know how to form, to become something. So anything you can come up with, it's got a frequency number attached to it. Everything is number. So that means that there is frequencies to support for everything. Just briefly on the visionary founders behind Healy, so you know where this all comes from, because that's also really important about what is the heart behind this. And I had the blessing of being in Vietnam for a Healy conference in January, so last month. And I got to spend time with the amazing founders, CEO, etc. of Healy World. And I've met them a couple of times, and I have to say that they're some of the most beautiful, truly heart-centered humans that are at the heart of this company. Marcus Schmecker is the inventor and the creator of Time Waver, which is the mother device of this Healy. And he's gone on to write this beautiful book. He's written many books. We were given this one at the conference, Follow the Inner Path, Our Agenda Towards Enlightenment. That is the guy that invented this. So when we talk about, people can be a bit suspicious of the technology, totally understandably. But when you understand who created it, he has walked his talk through studying everything from science to actually practicing as a monk. That was where he went when science couldn't give him the answers he was missing. He then went and spent time as a monk to find those answers internally. And he came out and created the Time Waver that then created the Healy. So that is who is behind the actual creation of Healy. Now, the money behind Healy that helped actually co-found and make it possible is the investor Christian Halper. I finally got to meet Christian Halper in person last month. And he is an eccentric, incredible human being. You often will see him with painted nails or both German characters. He made his money actually with blockchain. And he was originally an investor that created a very smart hedge fund, programs for doing investment and super funds, etc. He then sold that to use his money to then go into blockchain and Bitcoin because he saw the technology and what was coming. So he's a very forward-thinking individual. He then became a billionaire off the back of that and then used that money to invest into things that are changing the world. So one of those things is Healy. He's very passionate. He was there with his wife. Marcus had his wife there as well. And he shared about the vision of the times we're moving through right now, of the astrological alignments. This is the investor, the billionaire investor behind Healy, was sharing about the astrological alignments and perfection of how all of this was coming together and the transformation we can become upon this planet. And so hearing these words, I cried, Holly. I genuinely was like sobbing. I'm getting a little emotional thinking about it because for 4 years, I knew the vision of what Healy could be in this world. And it was challenging times at times. And knowing that now we finally made it, that Healy is no longer a startup. We've got everything in place. We've got all the logistics down. We're ready to roll. And Christian has done everything from, he's also created these vegan restaurants around the place. He even has a Michelin star vegan restaurant, which a Michelin star restaurant is very difficult to achieve. But to do it as a vegan restaurant, that's next level. And so for him, that's where he has put and invested his money. So that's what you get to know that you are being supported by and supporting when you take part in Healy is this vision. So that brings us to the Healy.
Oh, thanks, Mark. I'm learning more along the way. I knew about Marcus Schmecker and how beautiful that is what intrigued me actually, that he'd come from science, was a monk for a long period of time, and then has come into quantum physics and creating this technology. And yeah, I really enjoy watching him talk on the videos that are available and tapping back into Healy, how it has evolved in the last 4 years. There is so many resources, so many groups, so many awesome team leaders. There's just so much happening. It's really exciting to see how Healy has evolved over those 4 years. There's so many more programs and packages and Mag Healy, and yeah, it's really exciting and yeah, amazing to see the evolution that's happened. And I feel really, really happy to be back in the Healy family.
Beautiful, Holly. And it's amazing timing. And for anyone that's, interested in this, the last 4 years, we had a lot of challenges with, any new company will have logistics issues, as the whole world was going through the madness of 2020 and isolations, lockdowns and all these things. And Healy not only supported my family and friends in the anxiety, the stress, the health issues that came, but it also helped us as a business model that helped us to actually make an income without being dependent, because you couldn't have a normal job and not comply during those times. So it was really beautiful to have these opportunities to take part in something that really empowers us on every level. And so I'm really glad you did say yes in taking part in that family and being part of that journey. And so anyone that's interested, you get to be part of it now, where the hard times are over. And now it's where we actually start getting this, game on the road. So just to go quickly over the additions here, you can see, and you can pause the replay if you want to, go down into what all these are. But just to give you a general idea, is the way Healy itself is offered, the device is the same across the board. And it comes down to what programs and modules you have. That is where the price difference is. So the Healy itself is around $300 or 300 euros to replace the device if you lose it. So you don't have to pay all over again if you lose the device, drop it down the toilet or something unfortunate. So know that that's a beautiful thing. You can just replace the actual unit. Healy Gold is where it begins. That's your kind of base level with Healy. Now, I actually a lot of people go straight to the top and they want to get all the programs. And it might sound counterintuitive, but I want to make sure people understand that the Healy Gold is like your first aid kit for frequencies. It is amazing. And I still use all of the programs that are included on this base model daily. And they're still some of my favorites. So when you look at the prices, you get a little bit, some people might be a little, oh, that's a bit heavy. The two things I recommend thinking about, one is that the base level is fantastic and amazing. You can get a payment plan here in Australia, which really makes it easier to stretch out and make it more accessible. But also think about the idea that this is yours for life, that the programs that are included in these packages are yours for life. That means that over the last 4 years, what I have gotten out of this device, I can't even put a price tag on. And I'm not saying that as a sales pitch. Like that's as a legit, I'm sure you might have something to say to that, Holly.
I can second that for sure. I can second that. The times that the Healy stepped in and supported me and my family, where I haven't had to then reach out for things that aren't so beneficial for the body in those times of stress and disease and pain and when there's been serious issues in the family, the Healy's been there to support us. And so that I can't put a price on that.
I'll hold to that. And I've got a few things that I can't say on a recording, but I can tell you, and I'm sure you have the same.
That's why I was dancing around my words.
You can contact us directly and we can have creative conversations another time if you're interested. But the Healy Gold is amazing. And the other beautiful thing is what we're looking at here is buying the Healy and the programs outright. You can get a Healy Gold and then get subscriptions added on. So if you want to use there's an aura program, for example, to scan your aura, you can get that as a subscription. So you don't have to get everything all at once in that way. You can go the other way. So that is where it starts with the Healy Gold. Then the Healy Holistic so where Healy Gold, you could say, is the first aid kit. Healy Holistic is where you start working more specifically. So you've got the bioenergetic harmony. That's the bioenergetic field of your different organs and body aspects. You've got the meridians. So if you know kinesiology, you know the meridians. And meridians are like the energy lines and how it runs through, which I saw some of the measurements they were doing, Holly, on how they checked meridians with microcurrent electricity, and they measured the voltage and things. It's incredible. They can actually pinpoint meridians now, like as a real tangible thing. So you've got the meridians, which are amazing. There's things for allergies and sensitivities, etc. And now every time you go up in level with the Healy that you're looking at, you get everything from before it. So all the gold programs, etc., are included in them. Now, the mental balance as well, by the way, that second to none, mental balance, that is a page that if I could have every family have something, you put the ear clips on and you put mental balance as an acute program. It is so powerful for those that suffer from anxiety, etc., in supporting that flow. So the Healy Holistic is amazing. Then you have the Healy Resonance. Now, the Healy Resonance has all of those, but it also includes the chakras, which for a lot of us, I know that was actually one of the first ones I experienced was the chakras, and they're super, super potent. You've got fitness. So if you like running, you like pushing your body, the fitness frequencies are amazing. Like I went rock climbing and sometimes I push myself way too hard and normally be really sore the next day. But then I ran regeneration frequencies and you would find that helps it supported me the next day in not having that pain. And it was unreal feeling the difference in that. So local stimulation is all about pain. You've got sleep, which can help support with the sleep functions, etc. Power of 3 is a module literally designed for transformative times. So this power of 3 is designed to be used over a certain period of time as a module to help really support dealing with everything that's going on right now. And it includes things like, what do you call that? The Pitta, Vata, what was that called?
Ayurvedic body type. So that would be, I haven't experienced these programs yet. I was only just become aware that they exist, which is really cool. So that's bringing in the awareness that we have different elements in our body. Vatas, air and space, Pittas, fire and water, and Kaphas, earth and water. So I can imagine, of course, that is frequency, that's our body type, and we could use that seasonally. That would be really cool to use seasonally. We're going into autumn, which is the Vata season. So you could use the Vata program to balance the Vata energy.
Absolutely.
Very cool.
So you see how all that knowledge that a lot of the people watching this you've gained from all these other worlds, it's all frequency, and you're probably going to find it relating somehow into the Healy world. And so this is the Healy resonance that also comes with the analyze resonance module. So the analyze resonance module here is what we've been talking about, where you can scan against the I Ching to work out which gene key is relevant to your challenges, or you can scan against the creative homeopathy, and then you can vibrate those frequencies into your information field as support. So it's got the bushflower, Australian bushflower frequencies, crystal frequencies if you're into crystals. It has the bark flower frequencies as well. So they're what we used to use for my little boy when he was little. So the resonance is actually a really sweet spot to enter in at. Gold is fantastic, but right now with the promotions that we have going on, there is 30% off from resonance and above. So any of the models resonance and above. And so when you take 30% off the Healy resonance, it actually gets close to about the same price as the holistic. So it makes sense that if you want to go something a bit higher than the gold, then you can get the resonance at a great price right now. And it does also include this month a free Healy coil, which is the wireless delivery of the frequencies into your body. Now, the microcurrents are what deliver the full package of the effect. So I do always recommend using up to 3 programs a day on microcurrents. But if you can't use microcurrents for some reason, such as with you, Holly, and the process you went through, then the coil is invaluable. And you get that for free with a resonance as well as 30% off. So the Healy resonance is a great entry point right now. And then you have the Resonance Plus, which comes with all of that, comes with Deep Cycle, which is a great purification set of programs. You've got Learning, the ear clips that I use for exam, like when I have to be under pressure to answer questions, etc. They've got memory programs, concentration, if you're a little bit ADHD like me at times. I put those on with concentration and when I go into a session. And between that and the coherence on the mag, I found every session so far for a while now have just been on point, where I'm just clear and in that moment. Skin, we all love skin and taking care of skin. Frequencies for all those things, including scar tissue. And then you have the aura, an analyze aura module. So this is where you can actually, one of our favorites, where you can scan and analyze where the frequencies are within your aura, and what you hold an intention. And then what it does is it picks up on what is in the way of your intention. So I am peaceful and happy, or I am successful and wealthy. And if you hold that intention, your subconscious reacts. No, you're not, right? There's that little subconscious voice. And then the Healy uses its resonance scanner to be able to pick up on what those frequencies are, compare it to a database that therapists, frequency therapists have been studying for many, many years, and let you know, it's my daddy issues playing up. It's something around this playing. And then you can vibrate the frequencies in response. So it really helps you get awareness around it so you can do something for yourself around it, as well as give those frequencies for it. So that, my dear Holia, there's the professional, which then covers heaps more. There's so many programs and frequencies, but probably we don't want to overload. But what do you think?
Don't want to overload, but yeah, just I feel it's really powerful to have the feedback of the Analysis app. It also gives you the opportunity to scan your family and see what programs are being recommended. So then you can either vibrate or you can put them on if you're needing that support physically. So I feel like for a lot of people, that mentally helps them as well to see that feedback. Like for me, when I first got my Healy and the toothache thing with one of my mates, to see that it came up, and he's like, oh, my teeth are fine, and had a bit of doubt, like, oh, maybe the Healy's not working. Why has it come up with teeth pain? And then to get that feedback a week later where he had that really bad tooth infection, worst he's ever had. Those little things, it just, then you come to realize, wow, it's the information field, it's the subconscious, it can actually read that. It's phenomenal, it's amazing. And this is where we're going into the age of Aquarius and these technologies, the frequency as medicine. It's going to become more and more common knowledge. And if only we had these kind of devices in the hospitals and the places where people need help the most, then wouldn't that be amazing? Hopefully those times are coming. Surely they are.
We'll make sure of it. We just need to start at home. And eventually, when enough of us gain enough stability, that frequency will move out into the world, and it becomes, it has to be, it will absolutely, move that way. And I love what you're sharing, Holly. And so we probably should also make sure we mention the Success Coach module that's in the Resonance Plus.
Yes, I wanted to.
Because I have a feeling you probably have quite a few friends and people around that are coaches in their own right in different ways, whether they're health coaches, wellness coaches, or purpose coaches, or whatever it is. The Analyze Success Coach module is incredible. It's something where you can, when you scan, you add your client and then you get them to hold an intention. And when you scan, it'll actually give you almost like this little pie chart of the different areas of your life between relationships, family, money, business, purpose, these different areas. And it will give you feedback as to where your frequency is at in these different areas. So you can focus on the weaker ones that need support. And then when you focus in on those, you can then scan, and it gives you can kind of set how many elements you want it to check and come up with. And it will come back and give you pinpointed areas of, what's getting in the way of your intention manifesting in your life, of achieving success, whether it's in relationships or success in business, etc. So as a coach, this is second to none in being able to, whereas traditionally as coaches, we would have to work with people, ask them questions, and you have to kind of poke around, and essentially you need to hone your ability to be able to do what the Healy's doing, to tune into somebody and extract from them what is actually underneath. So there's all kinds of techniques to do that. With the Success Coach module, you can now kind of fast track that by being able to really get your fingers on the pulse of what's going on quite quickly with the Resonance module, and then use your skills to resolve it, as well as vibrate the frequencies to also support the resolving of it through the information field. So that is a pretty huge way forwards. And people sometimes say to me, well, this is great, Mark, but I can do it all myself. And I'm like, totally, absolutely. And I can fix my car myself. But I know that my energy and time is better used holding sessions, supporting people in achieving their genius, than fixing my car, because it means I won't get to do what I really love and what I'm passionate about and what I'm here to do if I'm constantly trying to fix my own car. I would rather do what I love and then pay someone who loves fixing my car to fix my car, because then we all win. And in that sense, I feel like the Healy means that, yeah, I can sit and coach and do it the old school way, or I can use the tools that we have to help make it more efficient so I can help more people. Like imagine kinesiologists, instead of one by one, now you can have a room full of people, a garden full of people sitting in amazing chairs with their Healys or their mag Healys, and support them in having an amazing experience, and go around and really connect with them. We can transform the way we're doing the work that we're doing.
And the efficiency is a huge thing, to be able to connect with the information field, to gain the the information in the information field, get information from the subconscious, be able to run these programs, even if it's just for our own self work, for our own self well-being, for our families or for our clients. It's a tool that is efficient. It's getting to the point. That's giving that information back so that we know where our intention is and where our focus is, but then it was also giving us the solution. There might be other solutions, and like I said at the beginning of the call, we could be meditating, doing yoga, getting acupuncture, seeing coaches, getting mentorship. We could be doing all these things and outlaying all this time and money, or we've got this device that is gifting us that we can use at any time. So it's amazing. It really is amazing. It's exciting and it's powerful. It's really powerful what we've got here.
Absolutely. So what do you think, Halia? I know we've got...
No, I'm happy to wrap it up there.
Yeah,
I'm happy to wrap it up. I think the last slide, I just wanted to bring in a conversation for anyone that's on the call or watching the replay that's already got a Healy. And we've already mentioned what I wanted to speak about anyway, which was around what programs are supportive for the family. We already mentioned these throughout the call. So these are my opinion of what helps us come into alignment. And obviously there's different people have different experience of what brings them out of alignment, different fears, but these feel like a really nice family-based, soft, subtle alignment programs that I just wanted to share. The Coherence is now available on the Healy. They added that as a freebie for us a year or two ago. And then the gold programs, we've all got those. No matter what package you're on, you've got those foundational gold programs. The pure for me is pure mind, pure body, pure thoughts. Balance is bringing us back into balance, feeling what is out of balance and bringing it back in. And release is physically, mentally, and emotionally releasing. Great for pain, great for tension, emotional tension as well. So I just wanted to slot that in as something a little bit fun to share what programs I like. And if you've got anything else that you wanted to add in there, Mark, of your family coherent programs that you enjoy running.
Absolutely. No, I think you did a great choice. I mean, coherence. Straight up, coherence. All it's
number one.
The best all around number one for everything. And pure is, it's so many of our issues come from inflammation, and so many. And pure really is supportive for that process. And we've seen some great live blood analysis tests that I'm not sure if I can mention or not on a recording, but pure is really amazing. For like, I think some of the gold programs have been massively undervalued because they're part of the base package. But Healy did not just give cheap programs. There are no cheap frequencies as such. They are the frequency kit that everyone should have, and for a reason. And so pure is something that I try to run at least a couple of times a week myself, to help, because we're always kind of picking up, and no matter how great we try to live our lives. The only one I would add on to this, Halia, is the care program.
Of course.
Yeah, which is in the gold programs as well. And care, the reason I add this is, for me, when I first ran it, and I've seen it a few times and I've ran it for others and watched how it has affected their energy when I watched them go through the program, and how the frequency of their voice changes. Care to me mimics the frequencies of the mother's touch. And you know how that touch of the mother is what allows the whole body just to go, feel safe. And then the body can now heal. And so it's really powerful for the immune system, supporting the immune system, because when we feel cared for, we relax and we allow ourselves to heal. And so for me, care is something that is so powerful for a lot of people, and especially men. That we need our mummy's touch, and sometimes we can't get it.
So good to hear that. That's care to me feels like when I'm feeling emotionally vulnerable or triggered and I just need a hug, I'll run care. That feels like a hug. So that's really cool to hear. Yeah, hear that, the mother's touch. It definitely has that energy. You can feel it.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your sharing. Thank you for your passion. And yeah, thank you everyone for jumping on. If you're watching the replay, reach out to whoever shared this video with you. If you've got any questions, we'd love to hear from you. Thank you, Mark.
Absolutely. My
Many
absolute pleasure.
blessings.
And know you are held and being cared for when you come on with Healy. We'll all make sure that you have a great experience with it.
Yeah, thank you.
Take care all.